guys, welcome back to my channel. As always, I am Sports Nerd. Today, we're going to be talking about a breakdown of how the LA Dodgers finally didn't blow a championship. Let's take it straight to the action. Okay, so let's just put out how the Dodgers and why the Dodgers should have and were so happy that they won the championship. For you non-baseball fans that just like watching my videos, I know there's about one out there. But anyway, for you, the Dodgers, well, they liked dodging championships. Anyway, I mean, you couldn't say much about them. But they made the NLCS 5 years in a row. 3 of those years, 3 of those years, they made the World Series. 2 of those years, they totally flipped and blew it. I mean, you could put up an argument that in 2017, the Astros were cheating. Be like, so then what was up in 2018? If the Astros were cheating, fine, that's a disadvantage. But then what's up in 2018? How'd they lose to the Red Sox? How'd they lose to the Red Sox? The Red Sox weren't cheating. They weren't eating chicken and beer and drinking beer. They weren't doing that. They're not the early 2010s anymore. They're not John Lester anymore. They didn't cheat, and they still lost. Then, at least the Dodgers finally got one, because all they would do, and all they could really do, was blow a game. Blow the World Series. The Dodgers don't like winning the World Series. So, I mean, if you just want a little bit of history, 5 NLCS years, here goes. Lost to the Cubbies in 2016. The Cubbies then became the World Series champions. 2017, lost in the World Series to the Astros. Astros were cheating, of course. 2018, lost to the Red Sox. The Red Sox were not cheating. 2019, who'd they lose to? The Nationals. When they do it, not in the NLCS. That is the 1 year in the past 5 years that they didn't make it to the NLCS. Out in the NLDS to the Nationals. And then this year, this fine 2020 year where there's nothing different about baseball. There's no virus. They beat the Rays. Because there's a man named Clayton, full name Clayton Kershaw. There's another man named Kenley Jansen. And Dave Roberts didn't play those people. If you want to win, don't play Jansen and Kershaw in the biggest game of the series. That's how you win. And it's magical. In the route to the playoffs, I think it was pretty expected. Both teams are the number 1 seed in their respectful conferences, or leagues if you want to call them that. The Dodgers, number 1 seed in the National League, took it pretty easy, yada yada, beat the Brewers. Yeah, you know how it goes. Same thing with the Rays, number 1 in the NL, pretty easy, swept the Blue Jays. Dodgers swept the Brewers, kept on going. So really one deep challenge, and then welcome to the World Series. Anyway, let's talk about the Dodgers first. As I already mentioned, they swept the Brewers, and then they go on, Padres, Cardinals. Who do you think won? The Padres. They would have been number 1 in any other division, or the NL Central. But they have the stinking Dodgers in their division. And the Dodgers just happen to have this basically perfect record. But Dodgers for the win. And then they find themselves down 3-1 to the Brewers. No hassle. Just go to Mookie Betts, let him field. And then they find themselves in the World Series against the Rays, the number 1 seed in the AL. They sweep the Blue Jays. Of course they sweep the Blue Jays. They're the Blue Jays. I mean, the Rays were kind of a surprising team to be number 1. You definitely expected the Yankees or somebody. But the Rays, number 1. And then they did have to take on the Yankees. And they did win. They won. They're good. My A's were so close to the World Series. My second favorite team, the A's of Oakland. Super close to the World Series. But the Rays have to beat them. And now, let's see how the Dodgers versus Rays did in the World Series. Now we're going to talk about the summarization of the finals and who I think won MVP. It was indecisive here, so stick with me. In Game 1, LA won 8-3. Pretty easy win for the Dodgers in that one. I mean, they got the bats going. The Rays got the bats going in the early, and it looked good for them. And then they kind of failed. In Game 2, 6-4 Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay got their bats going on that one, but didn't let the Dodgers entirely stop their own bats. They couldn't really even do that in the series until Game 6, which was the final game. So the pitching squad of the Rays were just, They just didn't let the Dodgers not score runs. In Game 3, Dodgers another pretty handily victory, getting 6-2. Rays were pretty good at getting runners on bases in that game, just they couldn't get them to score. It's a frustration that a lot of teams have, especially those teams like the Cubs and such that could get to the playoffs but couldn't do good in the playoffs because they can get guys on base, but they can't score runs. Game 4, what am I supposed to say about that game? They were hitting well. That's all you really need to know. So just go watch the ending of that game. Quite weird. Pretty awkward. You could say Will Smith versus Taylor. It's on you. But I mean, especially weird finish, and that was the game of the bats. So I mean, what are you supposed to do about that? Game 5, the Dodgers took home a 5-2 victory. The Rays, once again, got on base, couldn't score the runs. But, I mean, the pitching staff did okay that game. Didn't have the greatest pitcher of all time in the bump. Maybe they did. But, I mean, they limited the Dodgers to 4 runs, which, seeing their lineup, that's a thing that not a lot of teams can say. Like, in this series, they limit them to 8 runs, 4 runs, 6 runs, 7 runs, 4 runs, and 3 runs. They couldn't get them, even stopping them at 2 runs in a game. They had to give them at least 3 every time. So, I mean, the pitching staff, that's an ugly series. You got to forget about that one. In Game 6, they won the series. Nothing else I can say about that. For MVP, indecisive. Because, I mean, you had Cody Bellinger was my first guy who was giving you all the runs you needed to win the games. But then you had Mookie, who was coming in clutch. On the pitching side, once again, indecisive. It was probably the biggest clutchers. I know clutchers is not a word, but the biggest clutch people. So, I mean, for pitchers, Tony Gonsolin and Julio Urias, because they started and finished the very big game 6. So, I mean, that's what happens. Neither team had good pitching staff. The least runs was won by the Dodgers. There was not a single shutout that entire series. Just ugly. Ugly. Guys, I'm Sports Nerd. Hey! Football. Middle of football season. We got football soon. Football video. It's probably going to get in half a year because my videos are so off track. I'm sorry. I'm so very deeply sorry that I don't upload on some type of basis. I mean, I did promise my intro that I don't know when I'm uploading, but I guess I'm Sports Nerd. And until the football video, I'll see you in the next one. Peace, I guess. Peace!